a very good lesson to learn. And probably some people would say it's very easy to say this from a perspective who has all the gear that he needs, but it's true that you don't need a super great camera to be successful on YouTube. You don't need to have the latest tech. It's about your creativity, about how much passion and time you invest in.
Hi, and welcome to Road to Revenue. This is the podcast where we talk to creators to understand the bumps in the road, the twists and the turns. I'm your host, Lee, and joining me today from his channel, Tech4All, is Mihail. Welcome, Mihail.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Great to meet you, and really appreciate you joining us and sharing some of the tidbits that you've learned over your incredible journey.
Thanks
First
so much.
off, can you tell us a little bit about the kind of content that you produce?
Sure. Well, the channel says kind of a lot about the type of content. It's Tech4All. My intention was to present smart technologies in a very easy to understand way, so that when people want to look up for something, they can just Google, eventually search in YouTube, and find a video which is explaining in very reasonable, easy to get language about these technologies. I don't have the time and the bandwidth to cover everything, but I'm a tech reviewer, so I mostly cover smart technologies such as smartphones, wearables, some outdoor equipment, basically things I can use on my own and share feedback about it. So this is how I got the idea about the channel.
Brilliant. And how long have you been running the channel?
Well, it started softly in 2017, maybe 2018. Started to be a bit more serious around 2019. Right. I need to underline, when I got into the journey, I've had zero idea about video editing, about content creation, about storytelling and stuff, revenue streams, etc. And it started to get a bit more serious around 2020, and now it's taking quite a lot of my time.
So what was it that prompted you in the first instance to pick up a camera and start recording? How did that start? Oh,
well, the beginning was a little weird because I never had the intention to become a content creator. I actually, started to develop passion for taking photos with a camera, and I figured that I really enjoy those drone taken images. And kind of 10 years ago, it was very difficult to get an affordable drone and make photos. So I thought maybe I could construct a good drone by myself by buying a drone, attaching a small camera. So I had to figure out a way to buy a drone which can lift somewhere around 100 grams, where is the weight of GoPros. And, this is how my journey started, figuring out how to put things together and finding a drone which can lift a GoPro camera, make some cool footage from the top. Well, I realized over time that when you have an action camera, you do need a gimbal as well. So eventually I ended up spending a lot more money than I was about to in case I bought a ready drone. But it was quite a great journey. And part of that I actually filmed and uploaded to YouTube. And since it was a very basic channel, nobody was subscribed and stuff. The first videos had just a few views, but then maybe the third or the fourth one, it got a few hundreds. And I thought, okay, wow, that's surprising. And then I started to upload regularly. And a matter of fact, I went back home, put together a list with the gear that I have at home and is still relevant and I can make a review about. And this is how it all started. My first recordings, well, it's not the same phone, but I was using a phone and the narration was recorded like that. I was using a sock in order to kind of eliminate the plausibles. And it was super enthusiastic attempt. And then I went to buy a camera, some more proper audio recording gear, and here I am now in 2024.
Oh, that's incredible. I mean, it's almost a accidental content creator.
Very much. I've always had passion for tech, and I've always had a passion to share things that I know. And I think that YouTube combines most of these elements which are strong for my character and can be helpful to people. So I thought that's an excellent opportunity. And so far it's been probably the best journey in my life, learning, sharing, getting to meet new awesome people, including your team. So yeah,
Thank
It's
you.
been
Thank you.
fantastic.
You know, and it's probably one of the nice little perks of actually doing this is being able to on this podcast actually to connect with some of our clients. So I'm really enjoying that part of it, and you know, getting to know the really interesting bits, and you know, going back to when you started getting those 100 plus views. Do you remember how that felt?
It was unbelievable. Like I've never expected. I can tell you something else which I remember. There have been a few channels that I was watching on a regular basis. They were rather small channels, very niche channels, and I was thinking maybe someday I can get near the stats of these channels. I'm about to be super proud with my own work, and probably 3 years later, well, obviously this guy decided to retire from YouTube, but I was able to kind of go beyond that, and it felt amazing. You're probably going to ask about revenue. At the beginning, I had a very simple rule because obviously I have to support a family. So I thought I'm not going to invest in gear. I'm not going to invest in any softwares. I'll just try to focus on things that I have and they can help me in the content creation. I'm going to extract the most out of them and see what it happens. So I was just following this simple rule, investing in gear only if I make some money out of these YouTube videos. And it's a rather slow process, but very healthy. And you know, you don't go into buying stuff that you don't really need. So yeah, it was a good attempt to begin the whole journey. And I think it was a very good lesson to learn. And probably some people would say it's very easy to say this from a perspective who has all the gear that he needs, but it's true that you don't need a super great camera to be successful on YouTube. You don't need to have the latest tech. It's about your creativity, about how much passion and time you invest in editing, in preparing, in script writing, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and do you feel that it allowed you to spend more time suddenly on the craft rather than learning those new pieces of tech?
Exactly. Yeah. It's amazing how we sometimes get obsessed and tricked by marketing into buying new stuff, and we don't even get to know what we currently own. And it's I can see that with all my friends and colleagues. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I probably found 6 months into having I'm shooting this on a Sony ZV-10. About 6 months in, I was still finding features that I had not played with and had not fiddled with. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of sense to stick with the equipment you've got.
Speaking of which, the older model, the ZV-1, is probably my favorite camera ever. I know it's old. I know it's very compact, but I've recorded a substantial amount of the content for the channel with this camera. And it has survived, well, seawater, drops on sand. Well, it has a cage, so it's protected, but marvelous.
Do you know what? And is there another piece of equipment that's gone with that you kind of go back to as maybe a bit of a workhorse, or your super reliable piece of equipment that goes with it?
I do. I stopped using it 3 weeks ago, and I'm still not very sure whether I miss it too much or not, but it's my Zoom H1 recorder, which I bought secondhand, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. Amazing.
And what were you? You've made a choice to change that out. What have you moved to?
I've moved to the DJI wireless mic 2 because it's very compact, and yeah, so far it covers whatever I liked from the Zoom H1, but it gives you more opportunity. I'm actually using it right now.
Oh, brilliant! Well, I mean, it sounds great, but I can see where the Zoom H1 is. It's almost like an old friend, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an old friend. You just pick it up and it's a great feeling.
So how did you, in the beginning, you started with the equipment you had, which was, and I definitely see there's a real sense to being able to focus on the craft, not on the gear. But how did you learn the craft? Were you self-taught? have other people who helped you to learn really how to start becoming the creator that you are?
I did mention it's the YouTube journey, so it's mostly YouTube, which I use as a learning source, maybe some forums, but there have been 3 or 4 channels which I keep watching, some of them. They offer a lot of video editing tutorials, and this has been tremendously helpful. I know it sounds ridiculous, but some years ago, I was about to go skiing for the first time in my life. So I thought I'm probably not going to hire an instructor for the first day. And instead, the day before, I sat down and for 3 hours I was watching YouTube tutorials about how to do skiing. And I remember it was quite a successful first day, and some people couldn't believe how well things go. I'm not a skier now, I have to underline it. It's one of those failed projects that, well, I'm playing football, so this is dangerous enough for my legs anyway. But YouTube is unbelievably good resource for beginning to learn something, even developing a lot of skills. So yeah, that's how I got most of what I know nowadays.
That's brilliant. And were there particular hurdles that you had in particular challenges that you had that you felt you really had to keep going back over? To, you know, the whole workflow on being a creator, there's a lot of steps involved. Was there one that you found particularly challenging?
Yeah, maybe 2 or 3 of them. When you want to become a content creator, or when you want to develop this as a more serious thing, there would be a lot of people who would tell you that this can never be successful, or probably it's going to take too long until you reach a certain point. So believing in yourself is very important, and believing that what you do makes good sense. I think many new content creators, they have the wrong expectations, probably by watching super big channels like Mr. Beast, who can afford giving away $50,000 for an interesting cause, etc. And people automatically assume that everybody can reach this level all of a sudden, but that's not true, and it should not be any sort of revenue or payments that should attract these people. You should enjoy the journey. It's supposed to be about learning, about connecting to people, about giving value to the community. I think this is the most important things that people have to chase, because if you don't have the right mindset, it's going to be very difficult, and people get easily distracted, or they just give up on their hopes and dreams. And I think it was very well visible around the COVID times. Not sure if you mentioned, but all of a sudden YouTube was exploding with these new channels. And 2-3 months later, people figured out, okay, that's not too easy. I mean, you have to regularly upload. It takes a lot of time, so much preparation, and nothing in return. What's going on? Well, that's going on. Nothing is easy these days.
So how do you keep your mind focused on knowing that it's not just possible, but actually that the understanding of the work that you put in is actually going to pay off?
The thing that leads me is that I want to bring some value to the people who watch these videos. I want to help people to choose the right gear, not to necessarily make a purchase. This is why I try to avoid campaigns such as Black Friday or other specific sales times, because I know I'm a tech reviewer. I know I very often say this, follow the link in the description below, etc. But I want to help people to figure out whether they really need something or not, and to show them the specifications and how it performs in reality, as opposed to what the marketing teams are saying. And sharing experience is probably what drives me the most. Doing something good for the community.
That's great. And how do you bring in that feedback from your audience, and how do you gauge whether you're actually delivering on that value?
On one side, you never know, because you usually get comments by the most vocal people, or those who feel comfortable sharing their own thoughts, because there are many people who would just silently watch, and they wouldn't like to tell you what they actually think. But I think the comments section is where you can get a lot of good information on what people are very happy with and what people are very unhappy with. And I still manage to keep up with responding to most people who comment, which is taking significant amount of my time, but it's always me who responds. And I think it's a bliss to be able to keep up with this, even now, because the channel is already above 150K subscribers, and I admit it's very difficult to keep up with the pace, but I still do it because to me it's important.
Yeah, I love that, and I think it will get to a point where you probably have to make a decision around that changing. But I think it's incredible that you're still making the effort and responding to all those comments yourself. With going through that journey then, and you're responding to the comments now, you're delivering value, going back to those hundreds of views. You've had many milestones throughout.
Yeah.
Can you talk us through some of those milestones that you reached, and maybe some of the things that you learned?
We get obsessed with numbers. That's no secret for anyone. Probably the most valuable moment to me was reaching 1,000 subscribers, and then reaching 100,000 subscribers. Especially with 100,000 subscribers, it was like a dream come true. I've never imagined in my life that I'm gonna reach to that point. I know there are channels a lot bigger than that, of course, there are. But I know that my content is kind of a niche content. I don't do much of lifestyle videos, which obviously YouTube are currently preferring. That has been quite a significant thing. Other milestones, I don't want to set myself any specific goals. Just try to enjoy those little things that work out well, like a nice video that people watch a bit more than I was hoping for, or a nice scenery which is, strange and fun at the same time. I think we should enjoy the little things in life, although I'm still learning to do it myself.
So with that then, and I like that being, it's almost very Zen-like the way you've just described it. Not having that specific goal and wanting to push to a particular number, but embracing as you go and being delighted with maybe some of the surprises that, in terms of the number of views or the responses that you had to videos that you weren't expecting. Were there any particular videos that, for whatever reason, you got a much better or different response than you were expecting?
I do. I remember it was probably the first one which got above 1 million views. It was about a Chinese smartwatch. It was released only in China, but I found a way to flash an international software to it. So that made it very relevant to broader audience. And I remember I was quite sick at the time I was recording the video. I just wanted to do it because I knew the days until the end of the week I'm busy, so I wouldn't be able to do it. And a sick guy, a product which is kind of half launched across the globe, and then all of a sudden, it started to be trending, and it reached 1 million views in probably 6 months, which for my channel was super small back then. So that was unexpected, a very nice surprise. You never know what is going to trigger the algorithm. You never know how the audience is going to perceive. Frankly, lately, I don't care much about these things, because at some point people get obsessed with numbers, with statistics, which is the best time to publish a video, when is the best time to not publish a video. I think as soon as you have fun, these things become less relevant.
So with those, is there one in particular that you find you're maybe having conversations with people again and again, trying to dissuade them or convince them that they don't need to focus on it? Is there one thing that you're seeing people, and this may be on channels that you watch and enjoy yourself, that you see people getting wrong consistently or focusing on too greatly?
I think we should spend our time and power in areas which we can have impact on, what I mean here is that I'm not really sure if in this world there is somebody who can say that totally understands the YouTube algorithm. So things that I know I can't impact that much, I try not to focus that much on. So if people put their energy on developing themselves, on doing better content, having better ideas, better execution, I think this is the best spent time, as opposed to, trying to figure things that nobody can figure out. I'm not saying just ignore everything, not at all. I mean, I'm one of these people who constantly look at statistics and try to build analysis out of that. But try to focus on the meaningful part.
I think that's incredible advice. I think there's a lot of sense on focusing on the art itself and the value. It's
easy to say this, I know. Actually, I remember probably the period of my life which was the hardest about YouTube. It happened by the time the channel started to grow, and I guess I might have become kind of a threat to someone who was in the same niche. And every single time I was publishing a video, it was back in time when YouTube also had the dislike button. So I was publishing a video, and in the first hour, it was getting like 10 or 15 dislikes all of a sudden. And man, that was really hard. I mean, video has like 30 views, 10 dislikes, and this doesn't look good. Probably the algorithm didn't care much, but when I see it, it was painful. So it lasted for months. I never figured out who the person was. I mean, I have guesses who this might be, but back then I probably gave the advice of focus on what you have influence on, because I didn't have any influence on that, and I've spent countless hours on researching and trying to figure out instead of, just focusing, because the channel, as soon as it grows big enough, nobody would pay attention to 10 dislikes. It's just going to be fine. But, for smaller content creators, this can be very, very upsetting.
So do you have what's your support network look like then? Because you're a single person channel.
Yeah.
You've got to have other people that you work with, and what does that look like?
Well, I'm still doing the content work mostly by myself. We currently go for some short videos, which we publish on Instagram and TikTok. Well, still ongoing process. So there are a couple of guys who are going to be helping me with this part. I just figured that the content that I do is very specific, so even if I get someone to help me with the video editing, I've already converted to someone who is filming things the way I'm about to edit later on, so it's difficult to go back and forth with another person and explain, okay, I did this shot because I want it to be shown here and here. So I try to keep things simple, focus on video editing myself, on filming as well. And I run a blog website, and there's a very nice guy, Maxud, who is helping me with the copywriting there. So yeah, that's how it goes at the moment.
Okay, brilliant. And in terms of your revenue, right? You started to talk about this a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
This is the road to revenue, right? So
yeah,
we'd love to dig in and understand a little bit more of what that looks like. Can you talk us through what your revenue streams look like?
Yeah, tech YouTuber. So most of the colleagues, including myself, we have a few main revenue streams. On one side, you have AdSense, which is YouTube's monetization. Every time there's an ad displayed over the video, YouTube makes a bit of money out of that, and the content creator might make some money out of that as soon as, I think right now the threshold is 500 subscribers, certain amount of hours that people watch the channel, and then YouTube starts to give you some percentage out of that. And it very much depends on what kind of region you're addressing your videos to, because sometimes if we talk about a country with smaller audience, with not as developed standard of life, apparently advertisers who are paying a bit less for all the ads. Obviously, a bit less is going in direction the content creator. But if we talk about the United States, I think this would be the paradise for people who want to do monetization. So on one side, we have the AdSense revenue stream. Secondly, I use a lot Amazon. Their how to call it, their partner program. It's affiliate marketing. Link in the description that I ask people to follow in case they want to buy the gear. And Amazon gives a small percentage of each and every purchase which is done via the link. And this is where Genius Link has been tremendously helpful over the years. You know, the service has been remarkable ever since I discovered it. I first started using it for Amazon, and now I'm using it for each and every link that I put in the video description area because of the statistics. It tells you everything, and I know that if there's an advertiser who comes to me and says, I want to sponsor your video, I want to track what's going to be the outreach, I want more details, I know that I can go straight to Genius Link and get this data right away. The other thing which it gives me is the flexibility, because you put a link in the video description area and then you want to change the link. And if you have to go and change the video description, it takes a lot of clicks. Sometimes takes a bit longer than what most people hope for, because you have to go through a number of procedures. And if I use Genius Link, I just go, I change the link in the platform, all done. No additional time spent. This has been game changing. Now I use it, how many? 3 years now, if I'm not mistaken.
Brilliant.
I love it. Yeah.
So what do you remember where you discovered Genius Link? Do you remember how you happened upon it?
I do. You have a guy called Andy. So he messaged me. He said, you know, I noticed that you're using a lot of Amazon links and we have this super awesome service. Do you want to try it? And I said, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm all in. And actually, he helped me to convert, well, there was some sort of sorcery, you know, a script that your guys are using. And they fetched all the video descriptions, converted all the Amazon links. They converted into a genie.us extension. And that was published in each and every video. And that was automatically for 300 videos. Amazing. So this is how it all started. Then I started to discover these little extra features, how I can link multiple Amazon stores and accounts, how I can check more about the details, how I can use a landing page. This was also pretty fabulous because, well, Amazon require you to disclose that each and every link that you post and its affiliate link is an affiliate link. So I can use a landing page for that purpose in case I forget to do this in the video description. So yeah, that's how we started.
How many Amazon storefronts have you signed up with?
I think at the moment there are 7 or 8. It's because Amazon have a requirement about minimum amount of purchases that people make via your account within a period of, I think, 3 months. And because I don't meet the criteria for each and every country, it's mostly US, Canada, Australia, and Western Europe, which I'm covering at the moment.
Going back, even kind of a step back, at what point did you realize that affiliate revenue was possible?
Oh, it was even before I thought about applying for YouTube AdSense. Now, I knew from the very beginning that there's the ability to make affiliate marketing. Probably I wasn't using it, you know, looking back at time, I wasn't using it that efficiently. But yeah, it was in a very early stage. I knew that a small channel, very few clicks, etc., it's not going to work out well. So I really started pushing this direction around 2019.
You've mentioned brands reaching out. Now, Tech Channel, there's 2 obvious questions. Is one, brand sponsorships, and the other one is very much, do you get sent tech to review? Yeah, I do. Well, I've started to be very picky lately on what kind of gear I'm going to review. There still are a lot of companies who ask me to become sponsors of various videos. I do run some sponsored content, but not that much
because I want there to be a filter about, I want people to know what to expect out of the channel. There are certain things that we promise not to talk about via contracts, apparently, with some of the bigger brands. Some of the best things that a YouTuber can experience is one of his or her favorite brands to come by and say, hey, do you want to review my product before the launch date and publish a video for the launch date? This is pretty awesome. Sometimes it comes with strings attached. So I've tried last year to limit those premieres where there are too many strings attached, and I switched to a concept where I review the products after a month or two when they get released, when companies already have, all the firmware fixes, when people get enough experience, when you get the feedback from the community, because you can read a lot about how a product performs over Reddit, over various forums. So I try to switch slowly in this direction as opposed to trying to be the first. If you wonder why being the first is so important, it's the YouTube algorithm. The earlier you publish something, which is before the moment it becomes trendy, the algorithm is going to like you much more.
So how do you really decide then on the brands that you work with? Because you will have now, right, with the number of subscribers that you've got, with the number of views you've got, you're a very successful channel. You must have more brands wanting you to review their gear. How do you decide what to review or maybe what not to review?
First of all, try to cover products which I know would get a fair amount of attention. Because, I'm obviously becoming one of those more commercial channels in that sense. Secondly, I try to review products which I feel are good enough and I can easily recommend to friends, even to myself, if I wasn't doing that. There's no particular rule. I mean, I'm still open to reviewing pretty much anything which I believe makes sense, is well thought, well designed, proper R&D. Because we have to admit it, sometimes there are products which are released just to release something, just to keep up with this product line. And I try to limit videos about such kind of products. But there's no particular rule. I'm trying to push the channel more in direction wearables, smartwatches primarily, and fitness trackers. But I lately review a lot of smartphones, which I'm not quite sure whether I enjoy that much. But right. Time will show.
Okay, that's really interesting. And so you're talking about moving the channel a little bit. How has that changed over time? How have you not necessarily pivoted, but moved in the different direction?
I've never switched directions drastically, but it's true that at the beginning, when things are smaller, the operation is smaller, it's much easier to direct the channel in one or another direction, while at the moment it's more like a big snowball. I try to slightly tune here and there. YouTube is about you, about the people who do the content. So I don't know, maybe someday I can go crazy and just switch to something totally different.
So have you been tempted to run another channel?
Yes, I am. Well, there's an idea. I'll share part of it because obviously I still have the faith that it can work out. It's also gonna be a review channel, but in a very specific way, very humorous. It's just that the host, which I envision to be the perfect match, right. He's a person who is a manager for a very big company. So if I make him do this, people would see him from a very different perspective, and I'm not really sure whether he's going to be able to keep up doing the same thing. So right now we have decided to kind of push this back, but I hope that one day, because he's a great guy, very, very artistic. He's not an actor himself, but would be a brilliant host for that purpose.
I mean, that you've definitely piqued my curiosity. I'm super excited. So if it does happen, you can guarantee I will absolutely be there for the launch and definitely eagerly awaiting all of those.
I'll let you know for sure.
Brilliant. So what else have you got looking? If you think about looking forward, right, over the next 12 months, what is it that you're most looking forward to?
I want to optimize my process. I have two brilliant sons at home, a lovely wife, and I want to reach the moment where I spend a bit more time without being worried that I have too many things on my list. Mm-hmm. I want to pay more attention to myself and the hobbies, because, reviewing tech is a dream come true, but at the same time, it adds a bit of pressure around all this enjoyment, and I catch myself that lately I do what is needed to make awesome reviews, but I forget that in some moments I can actually enjoy this passion, and I can stop for a moment and just enjoy the thing that I'm doing at this very moment. So in the next year, this is my goal, to optimize the process so that I can release a bit more time for other things and tasks in my life.
And so will AI be part of that, or are you already using some AI tools at the moment?
It already is, yeah. For some parts it is. I have a tool which is helping me with designing the video description parts, a tool which is sometimes suggesting catchy titles, which I don't use yet, but I'm just curious what AI is going to recommend for this particular video, and sometimes there are very weird suggestions, but yes, AI is brilliant. As someone who is not native English, I still do a lot of grammar mistakes, or probably I could reword some things in a better way, so AI has been very helpful about that.
Do you put your content out just in English?
I have a Bulgarian channel, but because monetization in Bulgaria is very minor, I'm still searching for a sponsor for this channel, because otherwise it just doesn't make financial sense to keep on doing it. So yeah, mostly it's in English.
When we think back to, you've gone through a lot of learnings, a lot of wisdom that you picked up over the time. What's one big piece of advice that you'd like to share with our audience today?
I share the thing that helped me the most through the years, and with one word, it's consistency. I think it's instrumental for every big success that people might have in their life. Being consistent is a lot stronger than being motivated, because motivation eventually drops, while consistency stays there all the time.
I think that's incredible advice, and definitely something that our audience can lean on hugely to make sure that they're seeing their goals and reaching their goals in the next 12 months and beyond. Where is the best place to connect with you after this?
Probably I'm getting old now when you ask me this question. It's an email, dude. Probably email is the best way to reach out to me. I do have Instagram as well. Although not very active, I do respond to messages there as well. YouTube comments, obviously very active there. But the email, the good old email, because it's the easiest to organize my work.
Okay, brilliant. You have been an incredible guest today. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Lee. It was so much fun, and thanks a lot for inviting me. Thanks a lot to the whole team for doing all these great things with Genius Link, and keep it up.
Do you know what? Thank you for being a client, and we're looking forward to lots and lots and lots of years of happily working together. Thank you very much, and thanks everyone for joining us today. This has been The Road to Revenue.